Okay,
These are giant left-wing lies.
We're talking about degrees.
To say that men can menstruate is a lie, and that is what is said.
Wait, where did that...
You've never heard it, right? Okay, check it out, folks. Check it out. Anyone who says a man cannot menstruate is considered transphobic.
I missed this whole story.
You did?
I did. Tell me where you're getting this.
Just Google it. Can men menstruate?
Who is saying this?
I am happy to report that the Democrats are still firmly in the grip of the radical leftist ideology that caused them to get ousted from government in the first place. And what we're going to see today is Scott Jennings actually causing an entire CNN panel to melt down into madness over the simple fact that some of these CDC people, like Susan Monarez, who got ousted from government, were actually quite radical and were politicizing healthcare. All right, but before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
It's an important point because, you know, the decision, they talked about the decision to do it, and it is always a challenge when people decide to do that because, you leave a vacancy that someone else is going to fill. I want to play for what one of those officials said tonight, speaking to Caitlin Collins in the last hour, about what he saw was happening at the agency that he just left, the CDC.
The people that have been installed by Secretary Kennedy are full of ideology and bias that will actually contaminate the science. So I think that we have evidence that this is coming. And I think that the other part that we're seeing is that decisions are being made and data is being retrofitted to be able to address the decision. I think that is really a clear sign that the direction that the country's public health is going is not one that is evidence-based or science-based, which is why our resignations are really together are trying to raise a red flag for everyone.
This is stuff that affects real people's lives, vaccines,
We're in National Immunization Awareness Month.
I hear the criticism from this person. I just have to say, he did use the term pregnant people in his resignation.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry. If that is like the way you're presenting information, I have questions about your credibility.
Scott, it's so amazing.
It's not a ruse. He really wrote it down.
We are talking about
this guy's not credible to me. That's all I'm telling you.
Scott, are you serious?
Come on.
No, he is not credible.
No. Are you serious that this is
yes, he did write it.
That of all the things that we're talking about here? I mean, look, the reason, Scott, I said what I said is because rather than you seriously answering a question about the real concerns that were raised by these officials about the bending of science to the will of that guy, you decided that the most important thing to you was their lack of credibility because they used the word people. I mean, I just think I understand the rhetoric and the political.
You realize that you're accepting some politicization of science, but not others, right?
What's the politicization of science that's been accepted?
Can men get pregnant or not?
Scott,
if you're in the CDC and you believe that, I'm saying you're not a terribly credible person.
The CDC that is responsible for the health and well-being of the nation.
That has absolutely nothing.
Nothing
to do with the conversation.
It does, because it's a question of whether your scientists are going to politicize or not, and you accept some and not others.
To do with the conversation that we are having.
That's just the
I disagree. It's a credibility.
Why would we do that when people have died and are dying? Why would we do that when people's children are being dehumanized?
In this country about real things, when everything just becomes about buzzwords
or political products.
I don't understand why you're rejecting this criticism of someone's credibility.
Because I think that what matters to people in their homes is whether or not they know what immunizations their child should have, which, by the way, immunizations have saved so many lives.
I'm not disagreeing with you about that. I agree.
What matters to them around the world is not what words are being used
I think it does matter,
people.
Because it tells me what kind of person it is.
It is whether or not they can trust that the guy who's making decisions about their health actually knows what a mitochondria is.
Yes, and when we focus on, imbecilic things such as that, that's why people are then subject to misinformation and disinformation, and they resort to violence, Scott. There was just it's not violence. This is not a laughing matter. There was a shooting at the CDC.
There's attacks on ICE agents every day. Who's responsible for that?
Is dead. There are people rejecting the fact that people are
now you're blaming this.
I think
you guys cherry pick these things like
we don't cherry pick.
Scott, there's nobody who is justifying attacks against ICE officials. And nobody should justify or diminish somebody shooting hundreds of bullets into a workplace where people
are trying to save lives, where people are practicing public health.
So I don't understand why that would even be a comparison that you would make, honestly.
Because it's a great way to not answer the question.
Well,
exactly.
No one knows.
Excellent way,
guys. We're way over our time here.
What question? Thousands of doctors, hundreds of thousands of doctors who probably don't use words that you don't like, who agree on the science. The science is settled when it comes to autism and vaccines. Definitely. They have nothing to do with each other.
Definitely.
Less than 1% of scientists suggest that there might be a link.
You seem to be very angry with me. I fundamentally agree with you.
No, no, but why do we have to get derailed by this political BS when you could just say, yeah, that's garbage and we shouldn't politicize science?
Because some scientists are allowed to politicize things and some aren't.
No.
And it depends on your politics, and that's how
that's not true.
That is very much.
And just like that, a nice polite conversation about how crazy and wacky it is that RFK Jr. actually wants some responsibility in the CDC, actually wants a review of vaccines and their efficacy and their after effects, right, taken into account, that suddenly devolves into screaming and wailing and gnashing of teeth as soon as Scott Jennings brings up the personal politics of this individual and how that could possibly politicize the science, okay? And by the way, here's a picture of this guy I was flashing on the screen earlier, Dr. Dimitri Daskalakalis, right, if that's how you even say it. And guess what he was in charge of, right? Joe Biden put this guy in charge of Monkey Pox. I wonder why, right? Remember they tried to make that a big thing, and it turns out that as long as you won't go into any of these gay orgies and nightclubs, you were okay. You were not going to get Monkey Pox. And of course, that just fizzled out and went away because apparently there's not that many of those orgies happening across America to worry about. But then, of course, you have SC Cup over here saying, hey, the science is settled. And obviously, RFK Jr. is insane for wanting a review of a lot of this information that many people have questioned for a very long time. And as soon as you're saying the science is settled, right, the vast majority of scientists believe this or that, etc., then you basically said, I don't believe in science. I have turned my back on science, because if you know anything about science, then you know it's always about questioning everything. There's no such thing as the science being settled. If you want to have a study on something, by all means do it and release your findings so that everyone can see. And of course, that's what makes me very skeptical about all of this stuff where they say, oh, the science is settled, the scientists agree, because when you're not allowed to discuss something, you're not allowed to talk about something, you're not allowed to actually study something, then it makes me wonder, are they actually hiding something? But what it all boils down to basically is how the left is able to pick and choose what it wants to politicize about the science, because you have this doctor guy who says, guess what? We have birthing people, okay? What does that even mean? You should just be saying woman or female. All right, that's about it. It's the same crazy leftist language where you talk about pregnant humans that proves to me that your ideology comes above the science, above the truth, above biology. So, of course, all the crazy leftists on the panel are going to say, oh, we don't even have a guy who knows what mitochondria are. And yet you have people who don't even know what a woman is, right? And they're the ones out there writing policy. And by the way, we know that science, we know that healthcare has all been politicized because the Mayo Clinic and, of course, the CDC have all started buying into the trans ideology that has been going around, right? Remember when transgenderism was a mental disorder, and then collectively, all at the same time, a lot of these people changed the definition in their books, and all of a sudden, oh, we have to treat it as if it's, best practices, affirming care, and all of that garbage. So we know it's able to be politicized, but the question is, which way do you want it to be politicized? I would prefer none, but I also prefer you to be able to actually conduct studies, to be able to question things, and never appeal to authority like SC Cup is doing by saying the science is settled, because we all know that is a line of garbage. And I love how Scott Jennings points this out and causes the entire panel to melt down. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Really good news. There's a Labor Day sale going on at my online t-shirt store. So if you've been waiting to buy something, go ahead and check out these wonderful designs about patriotism and America. And you can also support the channel at the same time. So enjoy yourselves and find something you like today. And don't forget, all of these designs are 100% mother approved.